If you've ever wondered whether a woman is truly attracted to you, don't wait for her to say it out loud. Because the truth is, most women over 60 don't use words to express romantic interest. They show it in subtle, consistent, and deeply human ways. In this video, we're going to walk through 9 clear signs that she's drawn to you, even if she never says the words. From the way she looks at you, to how her body leans closer, to small touches and nervous laughter, each of these signals means more than you might think. Most men overlook them, but if you know what to look for, you'll stop guessing and start feeling when a connection is real. So let's dive in. Here are the 9 signs that she's truly attracted to you and probably hoping you'll notice. 1. She looks at you and doesn't look away. Have you ever felt someone's eyes on you before they ever said a word? There's a kind of gaze that stays longer than it needs to. It doesn't demand anything. It doesn't shout. It simply stays. And when a woman looks at you like that, especially in your later years, it's not by accident. It's a choice. You see, many women over 60 have spent a lifetime learning when to speak, when to stay quiet, and when to simply observe. But when she's drawn to someone, her eyes often speak before anything else does. She may not flirt, she may not say a single thing, but her gaze will settle on you and return to you again and again. That's not just politeness, that's presence. Psychologists call it mutual gaze, a quiet sign of emotional resonance. It's not just about noticing you, it's about wanting to stay in that moment with you. Let me tell you about Michael. Michael is 74. He volunteers twice a week at the local library, mostly shelving books and fixing loose bindings. He didn't think much about romance anymore, that is, until he met Ruth. Ruth was 70, soft-spoken, and came in every Tuesday to browse the history section. She didn't say much, but Michael noticed. Every time she passed by his table, she looked at him. Not accidentally, not out of curiosity, but like she was waiting for him to look back. One day, their eyes met for just a moment longer, long enough that Michael had to smile. And she smiled back, not wide, not shy, but sure. He didn't need to ask what it meant. He felt it. Dear friend, if you notice her eyes returning to you again and again, if she holds your gaze just a little longer than necessary, don't doubt it. She's not just looking, she's connecting. And the eyes, as we've said before, are the windows to a soul that might be saying, "You feel familiar, and I want to stay here just for a moment." But what happens after the eyes? When she shifts her body just slightly closer to yours, that's when interest becomes intention, and we'll explore exactly that in the next part. 2. Her eyes speak first, before her lips ever do. If you've ever wondered whether a woman is truly attracted to you, don't look at what she says. Look at what her eyes are doing. Because long before she speaks, long before she makes a move, her gaze is already telling the truth. When a woman feels something for you, she doesn't always come out and say it. But her eyes, they linger. They find you in the room. They stay just a second longer than they need to. And sometimes, they say more than words ever could. Psychologists call it mutual gaze, the kind of eye contact that increases trust, emotional safety, and even feelings of connection. It's not magic, it's biology. And if you're a man over 65, maybe you've stopped expecting that kind of look. Maybe you've convinced yourself that women your age don't notice anymore. But that's just not true. They do notice. And when they care, they look differently. You see, words can lie. Smiles can be polite. But the eyes, they tell the truth. Always. Let me tell you about Frank. Frank is 72, a quiet, widowed gentleman living in rural Ohio. Every Wednesday, he visits the community garden. It's peaceful there. One day, he caught the eye of Linda, 68. She was watering marigolds. She smiled at him. He smiled back. He figured that was it. But every week after that, their eyes kept meeting. Same soft smile, same gentle pause. Nothing was said. But something was happening. Frank told his buddy at the VA center, "I don't know if she's just being kind or if she sees something in me." The answer came a month later. As they stood near the greenhouse, she finally said, "I noticed your eyes the first day. There's kindness in them. I hope you don't mind me looking." Friend, if you've ever wondered if someone out there still sees you, not just the years on your face, but the story in your soul, I'm here to tell you, yes, she might not say it, but her eyes will. So next time you feel a pair of eyes lingering just a moment longer, don't look away. It might be the start of something new, something real. And that quiet moment might just mean more than 1,000 words ever could. But what happens after that look? When she starts leaning in, not just with her eyes, but with her whole body, that's when you'll know. She's not just being polite. She's drawn to something deeper. And in the next part, we'll show you exactly how to recognize it. 3. She leans in, even when words run out. Dear friend, if the eyes are the windows to the soul, then the body is the doorway to connection. Because what she does after looking at you, how she positions herself, how she moves around you, often tells you more than any compliment ever could. You see, when a woman is deeply drawn to someone, she doesn't always have to say it, because her body does the talking. If you've noticed her leaning in when you speak, angling her body toward you, even in a group, turning her knees in your direction, crossing her legs your way, that's not random. That's not just comfort, that's interest. Because when a woman feels emotionally safe, she naturally moves closer to the person who makes her feel that way, even without realizing it. This kind of body language is what psychologists call open posture. It's the opposite of crossed arms, stiff backs, or glancing at the door. It's relaxed shoulders, soft hands, and a quiet lean, not out of habit, but from instinct. And the older we get, the more this instinct matters. At this stage in life, women aren't leaning in to impress. They're not trying to win someone over. They've outgrown that. When they lean in, it's because they want to be present, with you, fully. Let me tell you about Ron. Ron is 75. He's a retired mechanic with a bad back and a gentle laugh. He met Gloria at a church reading group. At first, their chats were short, casual, friendly. But then he noticed something. Gloria always chose the seat across from him. And when he spoke, she'd lean her elbows on the table, eyes steady, hands folded softly, body slightly angled toward him. One day he asked her, "Are you always this attentive to everyone, or am I just lucky?" She smiled and said, "I'm comfortable around you. I lean in when I feel safe." Simple words. But for Ron, they meant everything. Because when you've spent decades being the strong one, the provider, the problem solver, it's humbling to realize that what truly draws someone in isn't what you do, but who you are when you're simply being yourself. So dear friend, if you're sitting next to her and notice she's leaning closer, if her shoulders face you, if her feet point toward you, if her posture softens when you speak, don't dismiss it. She's not just being polite, she's letting you in. And that is one of the clearest signs that what she feels goes beyond the surface. Because when a woman leans in, she's not just listening, she's opening a door. But what happens when her laughter suddenly becomes easier around you? When she lets out a chuckle she didn't plan, or laughs at something no one else found funny? That's the next clue. And in the next part, we'll talk about why a woman's laughter often tells the truth before she ever does. 4. She laughs with her whole heart, even at your old jokes. Dear friend, there's a kind of laughter that's polite, the kind you give when someone tells a story and you feel obligated to respond. You smile, you nod, maybe offer a little heh just to be kind. But then there's the other kind, the real kind. The kind that sneaks out of you before you realize it, the kind that comes from the chest, not just the lips. And when a woman starts laughing like that around you, even at the same old joke she's probably heard before, that's a sign worth paying attention to. You see, laughter is more than just a reaction to something funny. It's a reflection of how we feel in the moment, how safe we feel, how open we are, and how much we're willing to let go. For women over 60, laughter isn't just entertainment. It's freedom. Freedom from having to explain themselves. Freedom from being judged. Freedom to feel light in a world that has often felt heavy. So if she laughs around you, not the kind that's staged, but the kind that leaves her eyes squinting, her shoulders shaking, that means you're doing something rare and beautiful. You're making her feel free. Let me tell you about Ed. Ed is 76. He was a school principal for nearly 30 years. A serious man, measured, always composed. He told the same 4 corny jokes at every senior center lunch. Everyone knew them by heart. Except for Joan. Joan was new. She sat across from him one Tuesday afternoon, halfway through her tuna sandwich. And when Ed delivered his punchline, Joan burst into laughter, a full, uncontrollable laugh. She covered her mouth, her shoulders shook, And when she finally caught her breath, she said, "I don't know why that hit me so hard. Maybe I just needed to laugh today." And that was it. That was the moment Ed noticed her. Not because she found his joke funny, but because she let herself laugh in front of him. Friend, if a woman feels the freedom to laugh around you, even at things that aren't all that funny, she's telling you something. She feels safe. She feels relaxed. She feels alive. And that kind of comfort doesn't happen with just anyone. It happens with people who carry warmth, not judgment, with people who make the room feel lighter, with people like you. So the next time you catch her smiling before the punchline, or laughing louder than the joke deserves, don't brush it off. That laughter might be carrying something deeper underneath. Because when a woman laughs with her whole heart, she's not just enjoying the moment, she's showing you that you're the reason she feels like herself again. And when she starts to touch you, even casually, on the shoulder, on the hand, during a conversation, that's when attraction begins to move from emotion to connection. We'll explore that in the next part and show you what those little gestures really mean. 5. She finds a reason to touch you, even lightly. Dear friend, by this age, we've all learned that not all touches are the same. Some are formal, like a handshake. Some are functional, like passing a plate. But then, there are the other touches. The ones that seem casual, but feel like they mean something more. A gentle tap on your forearm, a light brush of her fingers against yours, the way her hand lingers a moment longer when she hands you your coffee. If you've ever noticed those kinds of touches from a woman, chances are they weren't accidental. Because for women, especially over 60, touch isn't just physical, it's emotional. They don't touch out of habit, they touch when they feel something, and they touch when they want you to feel it too. You see, as we get older, we're often touched less. Children grow up, spouses pass away, and suddenly, months, even years can go by without a meaningful hug or handhold. That's why physical closeness takes on new meaning. It becomes sacred, personal, intentional. And when she finds a reason to close the space between you, even with just a light touch, that's her way of saying, "I feel safe with you. I feel drawn to you." Let me tell you about Carol. Carol is 70. She's independent, owns her own little home in Minnesota, still drives herself to Bridge Night every Thursday. That's where she met Vince, a 74-year-old former jazz guitarist who always wore a navy vest and smelled like cedarwood. Vince never flirted. He was quiet, respectful. But every time Carol laughed at something he said, she'd reach out, lightly tapping his wrist or resting her hand on his arm. At first, Vince thought nothing of it. But one day, she placed her hand on his shoulder and said, "You have a very calming presence. I just wanted you to know." And that moment, that simple, warm touch, stayed with him longer than any compliment ever had. Because friend, when someone touches you with kindness, with care, with presence, they're giving you more than contact. They're giving you trust. So if she brushes your hand during a walk or squeezes your arm at the end of a conversation, don't brush it off. She's not just being friendly. She's reaching out, softly, honestly, to say, "I want to feel close to you." And that kind of closeness at this stage of life isn't about romance in the way we used to know it. It's about being known and still being chosen. But there's another sign that often goes unnoticed, one that happens quietly when she starts asking about you, your memories, your values, your dreams. And that's what we'll explore in the next part. Why a woman's questions often reveal a heart that's already leaning toward yours. 6. She asks about your past and imagines a future. Dear friend, there's a certain kind of conversation that goes beyond, "How are you?" It's deeper, more curious, more personal. And when a woman starts asking you questions not out of politeness, but out of genuine interest, that's not just conversation, that's connection. She doesn't want to know what's on your grocery list. She wants to know what's in your memories. She asks where you grew up, what your childhood was like, what you used to love doing before life got so busy, before you became a husband, a father, a provider. And more importantly, she asks where your heart is now. That kind of curiosity is rare. And it doesn't come from someone who's just passing the time. It comes from someone who sees you, not just who you've been, but who you still are. And maybe who you could be together. You see, when a woman starts asking about your past, she's building a bridge. She's walking across the timeline of your life, not to judge where you've been, but to understand what shaped you. And when she starts asking about your future, even in small ways, she's imagining what her life might look like with you in it. Let me tell you about Gerald. Gerald is 78. He served in the Navy, ran a hardware store for 35 years, and lost his wife 10 years ago. He hadn't been on a date in decades. Then, he met Evelyn. She didn't flirt. She just asked questions. Not surface questions, either. She wanted to know what his first job was, what kind of music he used to listen to on long drives, where he would go if he could take a trip anywhere in the world. No time limits, no worries. At first, Gerald answered cautiously, then more openly. And one afternoon, while they were walking near the river, Evelyn asked, "If I were to plan us a weekend getaway, would you be okay letting someone else take the lead for once?" That question, half playful, half serious, stayed in Gerald's heart for days, because that was the moment he realized she wasn't just learning about his past, she was offering him a future. So, dear friend, if a woman in your life starts asking about the music you grew up on, the things you used to dream about, the places you'd still love to see, she's not just being polite, she's gathering pieces. She's sketching a picture, one where you might be part of what's next. And in a world that often sees older adults as winding down, being asked about your future is one of the most beautiful forms of hope. But there's another signal even subtler, yet just as powerful. It happens when she starts adjusting her appearance, not for everyone, but specifically when you walk in the room. And in the next part, we'll explore why those little gestures mean so much more than they seem. 7. She adjusts her appearance. When you're near, dear friend, you might think she's just fixing her hair, smoothing her blouse, checking her lipstick in the reflection of a window, but pay closer attention, because if she only does it when you walk in the room, it's not just grooming, it's signaling. At this stage in life, women aren't dressing to impress strangers. They're not chasing approval like they might have in their 20s. No, when a woman over 60 takes the time to adjust her appearance, it's because someone has woken up something in her. And often, that someone is you. You see, attraction later in life is more subtle, but no less real. And when she brushes her bangs behind her ear, reapplies a touch of lip balm, or straightens the scarf she's worn a dozen times before, it's not vanity, it's vulnerability. It's her way of saying, "You matter. I care how I show up when I'm around you." Let me tell you about Helen. Helen is 67. She's a retired music teacher, has 2 grown kids, and takes a painting class on Thursdays. There's a man in that class, Richard, soft-spoken, wears flannel, smells like cedar and peppermint. Every week, 5 minutes before Richard arrives, Helen reaches into her bag for her compact mirror, dabs her cheeks, fixes her necklace, runs her fingers over her silver hair. It's not for attention, it's not for praise. It's because he makes her feel like the woman she still is, not the age she's become. Richard eventually noticed, and one day he gently said, "You always look so elegant, like you're ready for a portrait." Helen laughed, that shy, surprised kind of laugh, and replied, "I just don't want to look tired when you're around." Friend, that's not about makeup, that's about meaning. Because when someone values your presence, they want to reflect back their best self. It's not about looking younger, it's about feeling seen. And when she adjusts herself in your presence, she's not trying to become someone new. She's showing you a part of herself that still wants to shine. So next time you see her gently pat down her sweater or smooth her skirt before she sits beside you, don't say anything, just notice. And above all, appreciate her. Because when a woman cares about how she looks beside you, she's quietly saying, "Being near you matters to me." Be grateful for that. Not everyone gets to be the person someone still wants to look beautiful for. But here's something many men overlook, that subtle restlessness, the shifting in her seat, the way she fidgets with her hands or stumbles over her words. It's not awkwardness, it's emotion trying to find its way out. And in the next part, we'll explore why even confident women still get nervous when the connection is real. 8. She fidgets, but not because she's bored. Dear friend, we often assume that fidgeting means someone's restless, that they're bored, disconnected, distracted. But what if it meant the opposite? What if the way she shifts in her seat, the way she touches her necklace, taps her fingers, or straightens the napkin that didn't need straightening, what if that's her way of holding something big inside, quietly? Because even the most confident woman, even the most composed, experienced, independent one, can feel nervous around someone she truly cares about. You see, real connection doesn't just feel exciting, it feels vulnerable. And vulnerability makes us fidget. Not because we're disinterested, but because we're deeply invested. That's why, when she's around you, she might clear her throat more than usual. She might check her phone, not to escape, but to have something to do with her hands. She might stumble over a story she's told perfectly a dozen times before. It's not a lack of polish, it's a surge of feeling. Let me tell you about Marion. Marion is 66. She's elegant, articulate, and led corporate training workshops for 25 years. She's used to speaking in front of hundreds, but something strange happened when she met Charles, a retired architect who wore old suede shoes and carried a sketchbook everywhere. Whenever she sat near Charles at the local history club, Marion couldn't seem to stay still. She'd tuck her hair behind her ear 5 times in 1 minute. She'd adjust the sleeve of her cardigan, uncross and recross her legs, and laugh a little too loudly at things that weren't that funny. One day, after spilling half her iced tea during lunch, she laughed and said, "Good grief, I don't know what's wrong with me lately." Charles just smiled and replied, "Maybe nothing's wrong. Maybe you're just finally feeling something that matters." Friend, when a woman fidgets around you, when her words come out slower than usual or faster than she meant, when she says, "Sorry, I'm rambling," what she's really saying is, "You make me feel something real, and I don't quite know what to do with it." And if you've ever been in her shoes, you know that feeling well. So the next time she seems a little unsure, a little softer, a little unsteady, don't assume she wants to leave. Don't rush to fix it. Just be still, be kind, be present. Because the quieter she becomes, the more you're witnessing something rare, a heart opening. And if you see her trying to hold that moment together, don't just smile back. Let her know, in your own way, that you see her too, that you understand what it takes to be that vulnerable, and that you're not taking it for granted. Appreciate her. Say thank you, not with words, but with presence. Because being nervous around you means she cares, and that kind of care deserves to be honored. And sometimes the clearest sign of all is when her energy shifts, not in nervousness, but in calm. That quiet presence, the glow that seems to appear when you're around, isn't just comfort, it's connection that's already rooted itself inside her. In the next part, we'll explore how you can tell, not from her words or actions, but from the energy she brings when she's near you. 9. She's calm but glowing when you're around. Dear friend, some signs are loud, a laugh, a look, a lingering touch, but some are quiet. So quiet, you might miss them. This last one, it doesn't show up in what she says, or even in what she does. It lives in her energy. You see, when a woman is deeply attracted to you, not just on the surface, but in a way that settles into her, something changes in her presence when you're near. She becomes softer, more still, more herself. She doesn't perform. She doesn't try to win your attention. She simply shows up, open, grounded, glowing. It's the kind of presence that says, "I'm at peace when I'm with you." And peace is not a small thing, especially at this stage of life. After decades of noise, demands, heartbreak, pressure, if someone brings you peace, that's more romantic than roses, more intimate than compliments. Let me tell you about Evelyn. Evelyn is 73. She survived cancer twice. She walks every morning, feeds stray cats, and plays piano with her eyes closed. Her daughter once said to her, "Mom, you always seem so calm around Jerry." And Evelyn smiled and replied, "He makes me feel like I can just be. No makeup, no trying, just me." And it showed. Whenever Jerry entered the room, Evelyn didn't change. She settled, like a tree that stops swaying when the wind finds its rhythm. Friend, when you notice a woman who seems calmer in your presence, who smiles softly, who breathes a little deeper, who lets silence stretch without filling it, don't overlook it. Because in a world that often rushes past the quiet, she's telling you something with her stillness. You make me feel safe to be me. And that kind of safety is sacred. It means she's not just attracted to how you look, but to how you make her feel inside her own skin. So if she sits beside you and doesn't say much, but doesn't want to leave. If her shoulders drop, her voice softens, and her gaze lingers without needing a reason. That's not absence, that's presence. And it's one of the most beautiful signs of all. So, dear friend, if you ever catch a moment where her calmness deepens around you, smile. Not with pride, but with gratitude. Because that kind of calm comes only when a woman trusts the ground beneath her feet and the person sitting beside her. And now that you've seen these signs, one by one, you may realize something even deeper. That love, even in this chapter of life, doesn't begin with fireworks. It begins with stillness, with comfort, with eyes that linger, with shoulders that lean in, with laughter that's real, and moments that don't need explanation. And that's exactly what we'll reflect on in the final message as we bring it all together. Attraction in our later years is not about impressing, it's about expressing. It's not loud, it's not flashy, and it rarely looks like it did when we were younger. Instead, it shows up in a look that lingers, a laugh that escapes, a gentle lean, a fidget that means I care, a hand that brushes yours without needing a reason. It shows up in the soft ways a woman opens her heart, not with declarations, but with presence. And if you know how to listen, not just with your ears, but with your attention, you'll see the signs. Because when a woman is deeply attracted to you, she won't always say it out loud, but she'll tell you. In every quiet, beautiful, ordinary way she can. And if you're lucky enough to notice it, don't just recognize it, cherish it, respect it, honor it. Because love, real love, in this chapter of life is not about finding someone new. It's about being seen, being safe, and being chosen, exactly as you are. And when two people are lucky enough to recognize each other again, not in youth, but in wisdom, not in urgency, but in presence, then what begins in stillness can grow into something lasting. So hold that gaze, lean into that laugh, say thank you for the touch, ask about her memories, notice her glow, and choose each day to protect the beauty of what you found. Because when two souls walk gently together, with kindness, curiosity, and grace, that's not just a sign of attraction. That's the beginning of a peaceful, joyful, deeply human love that can carry both hearts all the way home. Dear friend, if you've stayed with us this far, we want to say thank you, not just for watching, but for opening your heart. Because what we've explored here isn't just about signs or psychology. It's about the quiet moments that ask us to be present. It's about learning to recognize when someone is trying, in their own soft way, to let us in. At this stage in life, love doesn't shout. It doesn't need fireworks. It comes in stillness, in kindness, in a gentle presence that simply says, I choose to be here, with you. So if you've seen even one of these signs in your life, from someone new or someone who's been near you all along, take a moment, pause, let yourself feel it, and if you can, cherish it. Because life is made of small, quiet chances to connect. We never know how long they'll last, but we do know when they feel real. So let's not take those moments for granted. Let's not ignore the people who lean in, who fidget, who glow around us. Let's honor them, not with big words, but with presence, with a smile, with gratitude. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you. Type 1 if you've experienced a moment like this. Type 2 if you now understand someone more clearly. Type 3 if your heart is still open to love in its quiet, beautiful, grown-up form. And if this video touched you, please consider subscribing, not for numbers, but to help us grow a space where people like you can reflect, connect, and feel understood. This is Timeless Wisdom, where every gentle minute you spend today is a gift for the days still to come. Until next time, stay soft, stay kind, and remember, some connections arrive quietly, but if we honor them, they can stay with us for the rest of our lives.